Let's get into another topic real quick. UFC coming up next week. I know we're all excited about that. UFC, what is it, 263 with your boy Adesanya?
Israel Adesanya, style bender. That's my guy.
Yeah,
Conor McGregor kind of got me into it, but this guy is keeping me really intrigued.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's just so fun. I think just having a bunch of fights lined up on a card, like thinking of that, it's like just a full day event, like a music festival, but it's just a beat each other up festival. So I'm excited for the UFC 263. But in the fighting world, most recently this past weekend, weirdly on a Sunday down in Miami, a rainy Sunday, a Chad Johnson versus Brian Maxwell led undercard, followed by a Logan Paul Floyd Money Mayweather main event. Who would have ever thought we'd hear that after Floyd Mayweather's career? Floyd Mayweather, 44 years old, fighting against Logan Paul, 26 years old. Jacob, did you get to watch any of this fight last night, Sunday night?
I did get to watch it. I mean, I started to actually I didn't see the beginning of the event, so I didn't see Chad Johnson fight. I saw some Twitter footage, but I did get to watch Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, and I'll be honest, like it looked 100% like Floyd just had it in the bag the whole time. He was toying with Logan. I think Logan Paul getting in the ring with Floyd Mayweather is admirable, but if you're a TikTok fan, a Vine fan, a YouTube fan, whatever, and you're a fan of Logan Paul and you say he won this fight, you're out of your mind. I mean, when Conor McGregor fought Floyd, I was all about Conor McGregor. This was so much farther away, in my opinion. And I was trying to find what round this happened in because I didn't remember it specifically. But right now, going around the internet is this controversy that did Logan Paul actually get knocked out and Floyd Mayweather held him up? I don't know if you guys saw that, but there's a punch that Floyd hits him, and you see Logan kind of stumble onto Floyd, and people are saying that Floyd might have held him up to keep the fight going and help him recover because of otherwise it would have been done and over with. And they're trying to make money here. They're trying to probably make a good headline of Logan goes 8 rounds with Floyd Mayweather, but potentially he got knocked out and they didn't stop the fight.
I am so curious about these celebrity boxing matches, right? And like Floyd is 44. He's not stepping in the ring with Canelo anytime soon or any of those, other big time boxers that we saw him fight in the prime of his career. So it seems like this is kind of the trend in boxing as of right now with, these almost gimmicky kind of fights where it's just kind of a fun fan fest thing. I'm so curious about what goes on behind the scenes because obviously there's a lot of money involved. That's first and foremost. Floyd left that fight looking like he went for a mild jog, barely, any sweat on him, barely got touched. In fact, let me read these stats from last night. Logan Paul, jabs landed 7 of 73 attempts. Power punches, 21 of 144. In total, 28 landed punches of 217 attempts for a total of 13% punches landed. Conversely, jabs for Mayweather, 7 of 14. Power punches, 36 of 93. Total, 43 of 107 punches total for a total of 40%. So percentage-wise, Logan Paul, 13%, not impressive at all. It was impressive he went the whole 8 rounds. I will say that. However, the size disparity in this, at some point, a 44-year-old boxer who's the greatest of all time, I don't think anyone's questioning that, that size disparity of 7 inches and 45 pounds, that's going to catch up with you. Like, no matter how good you are, the reach isn't there, just the power is not there, or the power is there for the other guy. Now, if this was Logan Paul being 5'8" and 140 pounds, it would have been over after 2 rounds. But I think the size, and Luke, if you want to chime in on this, the size is definitely what kept Logan Paul even involved remotely in this fight.
Yeah, obviously he has a big size advantage and age discrepancy. I was so surprised when this fight was even organized that the start or fight date was so close to when it was organized, because it wasn't even that long ago that we heard, oh, they're going to fight, and then they're fighting. It's like I didn't know Floyd Mayweather stood in shape like that. But maybe he wasn't, and he was just always just ready to go, and he knew he could just take Logan anyway. But the size discrepancy did keep him in, but I think it was more of along the lines of, they're not going to knock each other out. They probably discussed about it. Or maybe Logan was trying, but Floyd just knew he wasn't going to. They wanted to go 8 rounds, give the people the $50 they paid for, and just give some entertainment.
Yeah, it was. What was funny was, for being 44 years old and on the very tail end of his career, I don't even think that match counted towards his professional record. It was an exhibition bout. There wasn't even a winner declared at the end of it, similar to the Chad Johnson fight. But he was quick. Like, Floyd Mayweather was still quick. He was still avoiding punches. He still looked light. And maybe as a boxer, that's just something that always sticks with you. But I wonder how that fight would have fared if he was going up against someone else that was a professional and 26 years old. Like, Jacob, do you think Floyd Mayweather still has it in him to compete at the highest level with some of the younger talent in the sport?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. And I think even Floyd afterwards, if you watched it, he said that he's not 21, he's not 25 anymore. You know, he's 44. So he knows that this isn't, like, for him, that was nothing, but he knows he's not what he once was. I think the size disparity, you know, that's a factor, but I also think Floyd probably didn't really like try 100%. Like, if he really wanted to, and maybe he is a little older for this, but like, even the undersized Floyd Mayweather probably still could have knocked out Logan Paul. And I think the other thing to think about is just that, you know, he is always in the gym. I think I saw it on like a TikTok. There's a clip of Mike Tyson that this is his vice. Like, he doesn't do drugs. He doesn't do all this crazy stuff. His vice, the thing that he just always does, is go to the gym. He's a gym rat, according to Mike Tyson. So yes, like, even in his retirement, like, quote unquote, this is what he's doing. He's just training. This is what he has to do. It's all he's known. So of course he's going to stay in shape. And if someone wants to say, yeah, I'll fight you for, you know, however many millions they made, he's like, oh yeah, sure. I'll be ready next week.
Yeah.
And
And
he knows he's old, but he can take it against an amateur.
And he started boxing in the gym at 4 years old. Okay. So, like, he's 44 now. This has been a habit. This has been a lifestyle of his for 40 years of his life. You know, we talk a lot about golf being kind of like a timeless sport. Phil Mickelson just wins the PGA. You know, there's really no age at which you can no longer compete. We've seen players at late in their career win big tournaments. You don't necessarily think about that in fighting when it comes to the power needed. But UFC has obviously taken the fighting world by storm. What is it, I guess, in your minds, or if you have an actual thought on why UFC has become so much more popular than boxing? Because growing up, sports world, you know, UFC, you'd get one main event maybe every 5 or 6 months. Now they're rolling out a new UFC 263, 264 every 2 months. So it's grown in popularity. In boxing, I feel like this might have been the most watched boxing event in quite some time, simply because of the two names involved. Why is it? What is it going to take for boxing to get back to being a premier sport? Why don't people care about boxing?
I feel like Dana White is just really great at what he does in marketing the UFC, and he's grown it. And then you think about the different personalities that have come up. Israel Adesanya, you mentioned, Conor McGregor, Habib was undefeated, and, you know, a crazy story there, you know, fighting bears as a kid. But I want to say maybe it's just like a little more exciting when, you know, you can do more than just punch. So I don't want to say boxing is not, you know, on the level of MMA fighting. It's a different thing. But it could just be the marketing genius of Dana White that has created what it is. Because I potentially thought about this, like, is Logan Paul fighting Floyd actually going to be good for boxing? Because, you know, while it's kind of, to some boxing fans, probably like a joke, it's at least getting people in the mindset of boxing that, yes, they watch this, maybe they'll take interest in other boxing matches that are actually professional, and it'll grow from there in the newer generation.
Yeah. Luke, what about you, man?
I'm actually in the boat of, I like boxing more than I like UFC. I think it's more technical, more advanced. You have to have some more strategy. Obviously, the other one, you have the floor game and everything. But if you have a big size advantage, you can obviously use that to your advantage on the floor and everything. Whereas in boxing, I mean, if you're a smaller guy like Floyd, you can still get in there and win. I think the fact that Dana White is really good at what he does. I think he's marketing it superbly well. So that on that front, it's got more recognition, more staying power. Also, I think it's the stars. You know, you have stars in UFC that everyone knows, McGregor and everything like that, and they're knocking people out. Whereas Floyd Mayweather kind of was the star of boxing for a while, and in his later years, he's not knocking people out. He's going the long round, winning by points, and it's not as exciting for people that want to watch. So when he fought Pacquiao, I mean, everyone was hoping for a knockout, and that went just rounds and points. And some people think Pacquiao won just strictly off of points, and they don't like how that plays out. When it goes to the judges off of points.
You know what I would say to that point that he just made too is that being from Jacksonville, me and you guys know that college football is really big here. And I remember hearing a lot of people explain that they like college football over NFL football because, there's a lot more high scoring games, a lot more big plays. It's like they think those players are really in it, just for the love of the game. But so like think about that. Like the NFL to some people can be boring because both players are good or both teams are good. And so it's not as explosive. Nothing crazy happens as often because they're both really good. In boxing, you talk about Floyd Mayweather. He's really good at what he does, but you're not going to see anything super exciting. But if you're a boxing fan, that's very impressive. Casual fans not going to get it. Casual fans not going to care. MMA, you got people kicking their legs, like breaking their legs. You got people knocking people out. You got people. So it's like just someone who's a casual observer with no real understanding of how the sport is played or fought, it's just like, it's just like seeing candy. It's something that, will entertain anybody.
Yeah. And plus with boxing, I just read off those percentages from the fight last night with Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. And when you're watching it and you're not counting the tally, you're just waiting for big hits. You're just waiting for the massive, blow to the head or blow to the body that's going to knock them out or really shake someone. And like in UFC, you kind of get that more frequently, where in boxing, it's few and far between throughout the fight, and I think Florida, I learned this yesterday, Florida has like a 3 knockdown rule where in a boxing match that takes place in the state of Florida, if an opponent gets knocked down 3 times in one round, it's immediately over and declared a decision, I guess out of just safety protocol or whatever. But I think in UFC, people love it so much more for Luke said technical reasons for boxing, and that's great. But UFC, like you said, Jacob, it's the big playmaking sport. You can see the crazy takedowns, the crazy, kicks, all that good stuff. And then marketing the players themselves or the fighters themselves. I could rattle off 5 to 10 fighters in the UFC right now, and I'm a very casual fan of the sport. Boxing, one guy who's 44 years old, Canelo, who just sponsors like Modelo and whatever. And like, that's why I know them. I also think UFC has the benefit. They partnered with ESPN a while ago, and they've had the backing of ESPN, which is obviously a big leader in the sports world. And boxing has almost tried to remain isolated and independent. So they actually have not had the support of a major sports network. They've tried to remain exclusively on Showtime. They haven't really gotten into network television. I think they've partnered with Fox Sports in the past, but it just doesn't seem like it's taking off for them. Whereas with UFC, they partnered up with ESPN, and that kind of springboarded that brand a little bit forward, along with all of the personalities involved. But fun fight to watch, not necessarily the best as far as technique goes, or obviously the meaning behind it. It was an exhibition one. It might take a few more of these celebrity boxing matches to get people into it, just to tune in and maybe tie in a few of these celebrity matches with actual meaningful matches and have people watch, maybe tune in to watch Mayweather versus Paul, followed by 2 of the young people in the sport that are actually fighting for a title or something like that. I think that might be a good strategy for boxing.
Celebrity undercards. Think about that.
Yeah, celebrity
undercards. To professional boxing matches, celebrity undercards. I don't think that's a bad idea. It might get more.
Or you know what? Hey, call me crazy. Partner with Barstool Sports. Do it on the same night as Rough and Rowdy. Get Rough and Rowdy from like 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then boxing comes on the same stream at 9 p.m. You get all those viewers leading in from Rough and Rowdy, people drinking, getting wild, watching amateur boxing, and then boom, professional boxing right after. Just something, some appetizer, something to get people into the sport a little bit more, I think is what it needs. But anything else from you guys before we head out?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we nailed it.
Yeah, I think I think when you look at both those topics, obviously a lot of people are going to be talking about both of them this week and for the foreseeable future. Obviously, the Julio Jones trade makes a lot big of a splash, a huge splash in the world of the NFL. We'll get into some Jaguar videos, down the road when we get more content to talk about with the Jags. There's a lot going on. I know they signed Pharaoh Cooper. UCF topics as well. UCF baseball bows out of the championship game. Now we're in the College World Series. UCF missed out, unfortunately. And UCF football news, of course, the three of us will have to team up and get back on that. But people that are listening, fans out there listening to episode 94, please stick around. We will be talking some USA soccer and some PGA Tour golf, some controversy happening at the Memorial Tournament up in Ohio. So please stick around for that. But thank you again to our sponsors, String Sports Brewery, Shores Pub Mandarin, and Cimarron Golf Club right there off County Road 210. And by the way, if you're in Jacksonville and you did not go to the Jacksonville Brunch Fest this past weekend, you missed out on a good time. I would be on the lookout for more of those at the Arts Market, the Riverside Arts Market. A lot of fun down there this past weekend. A great time if you're in Jacksonville. Definitely have to check that out next time. Thank you for watching this part of this episode. To continue watching this episode, please go find the next parts on the YouTube channel as they may have already been released. If they have not already been released, they will be released shortly. Thanks again and hope you enjoyed.